Hello, welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of When the Game Stands Tall. So as you see, there is a nice new addition to my poster wall, and it is from the screening for When the Game Stands Tall. I love when studios really put in the effort to make it an experience for fans to go to these screenings. It gets them pumped up, it gets them excited, and it makes it more likely that they are going to go and tell others about the movie and the experience that they just had. So, thumbs up. I really enjoy when studios put in the extra effort to make these screenings, or even make the movies when they come to theaters, such as when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles gave out masks to fans. So, studios, it does help that marketing does work, in my opinion. On to the movie itself. What did When the Game Stands Tall do well? First off, as a football movie, you have to ask yourself, was it convincing football-wise? Was it a good sports movie? And in that regard, I say yes. It was a really good sports movie. And actually, the football scenes were by far the best scenes in the entire film. They had the entire theater that I was in really captivated. We were in there actually with high school football teams and cheerleaders and dance squads, and they were cheering. They were like cheering and yelling, and they were so into the football scenes. I don't think that this high school football program is something that a wide range of people are overly familiar with. We don't know which games it was that broke the streak, which games they won, which games they lost. So you were invested fully in each and every game montage. They weren't predictable. They weren't just coloring book style football scenes. You don't know exactly what's going to happen in the season that this film primarily focuses on. So I thought they were gripping, they were real, and they had you captivated. As you can see, I am a Denver Broncos fan, and I'm already pumped up for the Broncos season, but this film really had me ready for some football. Both Broncos, and I'm a Colorado State University alumni, so go Rams, go Broncos. I'm pumped to watch my teams on the screen and in person now. So, 2 thumbs up for the football scenes. And on top of that, I thought that the second and third acts of this film moved at a great pace. They just moved along, they were fast, they were brisk, they kept you engaged, and kept you moving along with the story, which I thought really helped, because that first third was super slow. But once they got into the action of it, it worked perfectly and was timed perfectly. But as positives go, that is about the extent of the film. What did I not like that kind of drug it down a little bit for me? Well, I have to say my worst fear heading into the film was realized. I kind of categorize these type of inspirational, sappy kind of movies as Hallmark films, and that's exactly what this one turned out to be. They're just feel-good stories that don't do much more than that. It's a little bit higher production value version of a movie you can just turn on your TV and watch on the Hallmark Channel itself. This could have been a made-for-TV film, just inexpensive made-for-TV film. And honestly, that was a big bummer. I was hoping maybe it would delve further, get a little deeper, and it never did that. A big reason why is because the acting just wasn't that great. I think, Jim Caviezel, he was the star. He was serviceable. Mike Chiklis was serviceable. The young actors on the football team were serviceable. But nobody was really great. Nobody was super convincing. Laura Dern, she's also in here. She was good. But nobody really captured you and sucked you into the story or really made you identify with them. Everybody was alright to bad. We did have some very actors in here as well. And I think the actors were not helped any by the writing. It didn't give them material to really do something with. None of these characters were developed at all, really. They were all one note, including Jim's coach character. He was one note throughout almost all of the film. He had a little bit of wavering, but he was a stand-up guy who just was, you know, led on a little bit into his past. I think we were hinted at some things that maybe went on behind the scenes before we were introduced that caused problems, but he was just one note, one keel kind of guy. Laura Dern, she had maybe the most character development, but even she played, you know, this almost nagging wife, this concerned wife, this distraught wife through the majority of the entire film, and she didn't get to branch out much further out of there. And the people who were supposed to have the most development were the kids on the football team, and their development was shoehorned in. We saw really no evidence of them developing to the storyline that plays out near the end of the film that I can't spoil for you because it is the end of the film and the message that it sends. But it was just shoehorned in. I mean, it came completely out of left field. We were never hinted at. These kids were starting to feel like this or starting to develop into this or blah, blah, blah. Never. Until literally the second it happened right in front of your eyes. I think one of the football characters, not the coach's son, but the blonde running back, the star of the team, I forget his name, I'm sorry. But he did have a little bit of development, but again, his storyline kind of just repeated itself. So he didn't develop all that much. He just kind of was an interesting character to connect to and to follow. And finally, while I say that the football scenes themselves and the games we got a little glimpse of were not predictable, the overall storyline was pretty predictable. I think, you know, at the end, that one shoehorn development was a little bit of a shock because you were like, what? Where did this come from? But really, the sentiment behind even that was very predictable. You knew where the story was going. They didn't throw you any curveballs. So the only reason even the football games themselves were not predictable to me is because I was not familiar with this team's winning streak story, and especially not familiar with the season afterward. And I don't think, unless you grew up in this part of California and this is the school you went to or your kids went to or you were part of that community, I don't think you're going to be all that familiar with it either unless you are a legitimate sports fan, and I mean high school football fan in particular. Is this a bad movie? I'm going to say no. If you are into inspirational movies, if you love that Hallmark, or I think if you have a high school sports player, period, any sport, I think this is actually a great movie for you to go see. It has great football scenes. Like I said, I was in the stadium with high school football players and they loved it. They ate those scenes up because they are really well done. So if you're a sports fan, for the most part, you'll like it. It's just those human parts that take away a lot. And they are mostly in that really slow first act of the film that just, it drags on. There's these weird storylines that try to bring emotion in but kind of just make you roll your eyes because some of it is just so overly sappy that you're like, oh, why? But yeah, overall, it's not a bad film. It's just a safe kind of comfort film that does its job, I think. So that's kind of my recommendation. It's definitely not a rush out and see, but if you have a high school student who's in football, if you like sentimental stories or feel-good stories, or you're having a down day and just want to be lifted up, then sure, this makes for a nice matinee. So, that is my review of When the Game Stands Tall. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't be afraid to click like down below and to subscribe to the channel. I love you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.